Ayun, hello. Hello guys. Good afternoon everyone. Welcome sa ating special live session, no? So for those na naka-follow sa One For The Money channel, this will be the first time that we're doing a live Q&A. Kaya I'm so excited for today. And eto yung maganda, guys. We're gonna have a special guest pa. So we will be joined by Mr. Chase Yap. He is the Vice President of To Trade Asia, and he brings with him knowledge and experience in the stock market. So today, we're gonna address some questions and concerns that you may have about, I don't know, stock trading, or maybe you need tips and strategies for successful stock investing. So by the end of this live Q&A, I hope that you will feel more confident and empowered na mag-invest sa Philippine stock market. So, hindi ko na patatagalin, add na natin dito si Sir Jay. Hello po.
Hi, Cristina. Thank you so much for having me. Hello to all of your viewers.
Hello, good afternoon. Start na po agad tayo. For those who are watching na first time kayong makita or maybe not familiar with To Trade Asia, can you just share a bit of an overview of your background and then a brief history then po of how To Trade Asia started?
Sige, I'll start with To Trade Asia. So To Trade Asia was incorporated in 2000, and we were the first online stockbroker in the Philippines back in 2001 when we launched, and still innovating. But our parent company, which is FYAP Securities, has been in the industry since 1973. And we celebrated our 50th anniversary last year, so we've been in the industry very long. I'm second generation already. That's helping out with the business.
Wow, very very interesting. Tagal na po pala. And related
Tagal na.
happy Okay, so thank you po for sharing that. May kasi din ng question to asking about the brief history. I think they're really curious about the history of To Trade Asia and what you do. So diretso na po tayo. We have some questions here submitted by our followers sa One For The Money. So Sir Chase, context lang on how these questions were submitted. So the audience that I asked is alam na nila yung stocks. They know how it works, probably because of they studied it a bit. They probably watched a few videos. Some may have already opened a stockbroker already, and some are still looking for a stockbroker. So perfect opportunity. So we wanna what we want to do is we want to bridge the gap between, okay, I know stocks is a good investment option. I have opened a stockbroker and probably in that step of trying to look for one na. So what's the next step? So yun yung po yung context ng questions natin.
Thank you. I think that's perfect. I think if you look at, there's a lot of people talagang interested in investing, but don't know how or where to start. So hopefully we can help and bridge that gap, like you mentioned.
Okay. So this is the first question that we have. Sa dami na din siguro na napanood nila, ang question niya is what's the best kind of investment to get into beginners? Naputol na, no? So stocks, REITs, yun yung question niya.
Okay, I see. So the best kind of investment to get in, at least for me, I learned stocks at a very young age, but I think the best for me is stocks. I do think that these are businesses and therefore these are products and services that you can see every day. In fact, I'm personally invested in things that I love myself. Some of them are some necessary items, some utilities I think are very good options. They have a very steady income, and I don't think it's very risky. If people think that stocks is risky, I mean, yes, because of the volatility, but you do have some options like utilities now, water and electricity, that even during recessions, they don't really go down by much. You'll see a 3% decline in revenue, which is already quite big. So I think stocks for me is one of the best for beginners. However, when we talk about performance, so last year, the best performance was with interest rates going very high. The best performance was, if you just left it in time deposits, I think you would have gotten paid like 6%, 7%, which is very much almost unheard of. At least ever since nagtrabaho ako, that's about 17 years already. And so and we do know then, or at least we are expecting here into Trade Asia that for that to change. I think interest rates are slated, they're already very high. They've gone up very fast, very high very fast, and so we expect this year for that to go down. So um, yung cash might have been the best performer last year, but we think that that will slowly switch. We also think that being something that is stock, something that you can see and feel or even use, I think is easy to get in because it's something na ma-identify mo. It could be something that you actually use or something din, Christina, somebody like, we're different generations. And so usually the people of your generation or younger generation, they would know kung sino yung mga companies that are either doing well or that they would like to use going forward, because a lot of these companies, they're targeting you know um, your generation, Christina, or even younger. And so therefore, being in that position, for beginners, assuming you're relatively younger, um, whatever you are using, usually they're the ones that are going to be successful, or at least they will have some success, in terms of kung na-target ka na niya, and then that will be the next 20-25 years. So I think stocks is one of the best options for beginners.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I also started with with stocks with a lot of information na eto yung mga pwede mong pag-investan. Stocks weren't they're not just sticker symbols that you see on the screen eh. They're companies that you see, that you use. Yun nga, you mentioned utility. So it's one of the simplest then to understand.
Yes,
Um,
I think
right?
so. And actually, we talked about the best for beginners with the introduction. I think 2022 or 2023, 2022, I believe, of REITs. That's
Mm.
really one thing that is great for beginners. Of course, also great across the board between beginners and even professionals use that, because REITs by law, the companies are required to pay out dividends 90% of their net income. They're also required by law na parang they're already these money making properties. Like that's why if you, for example, you look at the Ayala REIT, you'll be looking at the likes of Glorieta, you'll be looking at these mature properties already, very prime, and mas easy. It's easier to predict the maybe the revenue, or at least your ano your your investment na mga returns when it comes to something like that. So yep, it's been made even easier, especially also by technology. So yun.
Thank you po for that. It did really um resonated siguro with a lot of beginners then choosing na parang ito ba yung tatahakin ko. Okay, sige. Sige, ito po yung next question. Is investing in large cap banks the best option for long term naman, long term investment yung question?
Oh, very great. Good question. Just because one of our top picks, even for 2023 and 2024, are the big banks. We think that the banks will play a big role. So they played a big role in terms of making us, stay afloat during these difficult times, and they will also lead the way when it comes to investments and when we start going into this growth trajectory. So we very much love banks. To be a bit more technical now, so we think banks the past year, during a rising in interest rate environment, they were able to pass on those costs to you. So kunyari, if you have a car loan, you would have seen your car payments probably have to go up. And so that's why, they're able to maintain their their margins. Unlike maybe something like rice, who, mas mahirap lang basta-basta increase lang ng pricing mo. So yun, we think that banks were able to really pass on some of those additional costs. And now that we feel that the interest rates has peaked, of course, these are our assumption that the interest rates have peaked, but that they will also be important. They will lead the way for us to start this recovery period. So we love banks. We think that during that time they were able to keep their margins, pass it on. But now that the demand for loans, for investment, for maybe opening up new restaurants, we've seen a lot recently of restaurants, new investments. So I think they will play a very key role in the recovery of our economy here in the Philippines. So yes, we love banks very much so.
Very interesting. And it's also his question is it's good for long term. So they did perform really well last year, this year. And I think long term then.
Around late last year, it started to really perform better. That's when I think the it was getting a little bit clearer that we were nearing that peak din in interest rates. So
Yeah.
properties also did well late last year. Properties also did well.
Thank you for your insight po Don. And now this question, I have my way of screening stocks, and I would be very interested to know how do you screen for good stocks?
So I don't. So I've been in this industry over 17 years now. And ever since I was a kid, I remembered when we were required for our summer to. Back then, internet was not that great. It wasn't available to every mobile device. So we had to cut those newspapers and look for the news, and then be able to photocopy them and then send them out to clients. So that was part of our summer. But I think really the easiest way is to keep it simple. So look for things that products and services that you yourself use and like, that think that they're good. So I personally love, certain banks. I don't want to say na lang pala, but certain banks I think have been really in the forefront of maybe digitalization. I love what they're doing. Their services for me, I feel like is improving. And so, then you would gravitate. If you already believe in the banking sector, then just go for something that you use yourself. um, another idea that another thing that I like to use to even start. Sorry, we're not screening stocks yet. We're just starting to see which industries or which sector we want. Is another thing is something that you believe in. So one thing that I believe in is renewable energy. I think the Philippines, who doesn't have any oil, we don't have a lot of natural gas and oil. I think we're very dependent on imports, and I think it's nakita natin last year how important with if every time the oil spikes, we're very much in trouble. So I think something like that, renewable energy, and we are naman. The Philippines is trying to transition to a renewable energy, so I very much believe in that transition. I think we definitely, the Philippines should do that sooner rather than later. So a broad idea like that can be your investment um, avenue or direction. That could be one, and it's something that either you believe in, but also that the government or the country is working towards. So you can just put all of those together and then start looking for the company that you think is best. Other things include, it could be like values that you value, or just ideas. So I remember this when Wilcon did an IPO back in 2017. Sorry, I don't remember the dates anymore. 2016. We looked at their stores, and it's I remembered when I went there, it wasn't even fully air conditioned. And so, they have, but when I went there, it wasn't air conditioned, but it was complete. Like they would have everything I needed to build a house. I feel like I could go in there and then eventually just build a house out of nowhere. So I was really impressed. And then even further, that yun nga, walang aircon, overhead wasn't very expensive. Also, yung mga ibang staff nila, parang it looks like they don't even, have to pay them, because it looks like they were provided by, let's say, the aircon company, let's say Condura or Carrier. Like they were wearing the uniform. And so I think, so I very much like their business model. They have a plan to go from 2016 to 2020 to double their stores. And so that was my plan. I wanted to buy the IPO, slowly grow with the company, slowly, invest, as because knowing that I have time. The plan is for this company to grow to double by 2020, and that was okay with me. So I could slowly invest in the company. And I think luckily, or not luckily, but good thing, they were able to see their targets through, and nagdouble naman. Actually, a little bit less than before the 2020 na target nila. So sometimes it could be, general ideas that even the companies have, that I think is that you think is possible. Wilcon, so nice things, that observations, that you see, and could all be basis. They could all be basis on screening your stocks. So I hope that helps. So for me, kasi the best way is to just go for what you have experienced, go for what you believe in. You do have to make certain assumptions, but try to make ones that are either out there na, widely accepted, and then that way you can just focus on the choosing the best stock. And usually naman, there's only two, three, or four that are the best. Of course, you want to get into the larger companies. They're the ones who during difficult times are able to really have enough cash to be able to weather the storms. But also during recoveries, they're the ones who's gonna start doing marketing, acquiring these smaller ones. And these guys really have special powers when it comes to, not everybody is the same when it comes to certain industries and those things. So yeah, those are some examples that I use myself. I don't have to go through a very, very difficult screening process, but rather just go for things that I believe in, things that I made assumptions of, and those type of things.
Ganda nun. Kasi when sometimes we or when we start as beginners, we try to complicate things and try to overanalyze a lot. And I like what you said, something that you use, something that you believe in, and yung something that aligns with your values as well. So guys, take note
Yeah.
nyo yun.
Yes, please. Yung mga, the likes of, if you believe that, travel and tourism is one that's maybe up and coming, after 2, 3 years of us being, held up, I think that's a great assumption to me. That's also one that we are making. So it could come from those ano lang naman, assumptions and observations din.
Okay, thank you po. And
Kasi, sorry,
the
Christina. Kasi din,
sige.
Christina, if it's something that you don't believe in, it's hard to see your strategy through. Yung parang you're always second guessing yourself. Uy, nako, baka mamaya tumumba na
Yeah.
talaga itong company na to, or nako, matatalo na sila. So I just think that it has to be something you believe in, you're comfortable in. That way you'll be able to weather the volatility, because we know naman stocks is volatile. Um, Lots of things affect it, not just the fundamentals itself. But if somebody needs to sell because of necessity, then there's just no choice. So
Okay. Kasi nga may risk.
yes. Oo.
There would
Yung
always
risk
be
is yung
risk.
mga ibang
Yeah.
investors din, yung mga ibang tao, baka nauna sila bumili, gusto na nila kumita. Maybe funds have a biglang, like insurance companies all of a sudden have a big withdrawal, or you'll never know. And so
Mm-mm.
just if you believe in that company, then you're able to maybe even buy on those certain opportunities when it occurs.
Okay. So we're in the almost towards the end of, hindi naman towards the end, quarter one.
Okay.
Marami pa rin gustong mag-start ngayon, but kinda ano bang meron sa stock market ngayon? So what are your insights for the Philippine stock market this year?
So the index, our index is currently at 68, sorry, 6880 or 68 something, sorry, close to 6,900. Our full year target is 7,400 for this year. So, that's the general index. So we're looking at an easily a 10% return on the general index. But of course, individual funds could be more, like meron kaming mga feeling namin still very cheap companies. But in general, the index, we think that we're gonna close at 7,400. We also believe that after 2 years of underperformance ng stocks, 2022 and 2023 down tayo, and we are expecting for us to start that cycle again. So we do think that 2024 um, is just the start. Simula pa lang ng 7.4. I wouldn't be surprised if we retest the 8,000 that we hit back in 2019 for 2025, assuming that the interest rates cuts, gets maintained. So we expect it to start ng mga third quarter of this year. So yung mga nagta-time deposit, baka medyo mas mahirapan na kayo makakuha ulit ng rates na mga nakukuha nyo. And I'm a little bit worried that by the time that the rate cuts do happen, it's a little bit too late. Baka nag-react na yung stocks then, because stocks is a little bit of a forward indicator siya. So yun, those are some of our targets, or at least expectations over the next year or even two. We think that we are at the beginning of that cycle.
Ganda. So, very optimistic tayo sa sa market. Ako naman po may question. Ako pala yung may question. This will be our last question for today, as we're nearing the end of the 30-minute. Ay, wait, off
Nice.
ko lang to. So, late last year, I tried yung thematic basket sa Trade Asia Plus na platform. One, because I was very curious. And two, I don't think I've seen it in any of the stock brokers that I've used in the past. And I would say I made a decent amount of gain in that case study in the past 2 months. I sold it na kasi last month. So I want to know what's
Good
the
timing.
story behind the what's the story behind the thematic basket? Like, why was it added as a feature sa 2Trade Asia Plus for investors to use?
Thank you, thank you. Thanks that you tried it. So we're the first one to introduce this type of product to investors in the Philippines, and what we've done is that for example, what we realize is that for somebody who we always talk about the index, oh, we're looking at the index to make 10% this year, or we're looking at an 8,000 target for index. And but then the index is about 30 stocks, and how can you just if you have 30,000, how can you buy 1,000 per stock? And we think that it's a little bit difficult. So these were one of the things that we found was a solution was, why don't we just come up with one that has a good representation of the market? So maybe we'll have a mini index where it'll have all of, like, an Ayala Corporation, which already covers another three or four items in the index, which is Globe, BPI, Ayala Land, even AC Energy. They have a renewable energy company, so it covers all of that. We have, of course, how can we forget yung mga SM? Sometimes you can have a smaller basket of these good companies, and then that way it's easier for people to either get in. It's easier to say, oh, I'm in the index, without having to buy 30 stocks. How can you really monitor 30 stocks? I think it's a little bit difficult. So yun, it's easier to just say, oh, I'm in the index, with a good representation of it. Another thing that we notice is that people seem to kind of have an idea of what they want, or where they want their money to be in, but then having a hard time going through the checking, or valuations, all of that. Although we provide all of those numbers, we noticed that if we're able to make certain criterias, like, for example, by the way, we have 9 baskets. One of them is the mini index. That way it breaks it down to maybe like 5 stocks, which we feel is a good 75%, 80% representation of our actual index. And we also have renewable energy, things, ideas that we think will flourish. We have a 2030 plan in the Philippines to become have a bit more renewable energy, and so we've already handpicked some stocks with criteria. So we would only pick the largest companies. So we only pick 50 billion peso and larger companies, kasi that way din, in stocks, kasi one thing that is the best with stocks is that it's very liquid. So if all of a sudden I need to withdraw my investments, I can just sell it, and then 3 days later the money is in my account. And so we don't want to. One of the best features of stocks is liquidity, and then you choose a company that's smaller and it's hard to sell. It loses that appeal. So we made sure that the companies are big, they have a good growth story. So we just use these 2 criteria: a company that's big, and something that has a company that has a good growth story. And we're surprised that we were able to really narrow it down, simplify it, and then thematic baskets was born, and now we have 9. We update them regularly. So in fact, today we just had a change on one of the value plays. So we've added a stock, and we've also added another stock on the mini index. So it's regularly updated. But aside from buying the index, the basket itself, you can just, if you're a customer, you can just scroll through it, read through what stocks we think are in there, and you can just choose yourself. There's no limitation. There is no, you can just look at it. If for example, something like SM you don't like, you don't like shopping in SM, you don't think it's, you think that they have so much control, then you can just pick the other stocks in there. So, like, just buy an Ayala Corporation if that's what you prefer. So yes, we're the first in the country. We use very simple criterias, but and we update them regularly.
Hindi. Kaya nga yung nakita ko sabi ko, I've never seen this. I've seen it in the global where ibabasket nila like healthcare, tech companies. So it was
Ah,
really
yes.
the first that I saw it na sabi ko, "Ah, I need to try
Also,
it."
Christina, it's parang it's a guide, but also we don't charge anything. It's as if you're just buying stocks, and therefore there's no fund management fee. There's
Mm.
no fee that is recurring also because sometimes some of the professionals, syempre, di ba, they have to charge. And of course, I have mutual funds also. Don't get me wrong, but 8%, an average return is about 8%. And then if you're getting charged 1.5 or 1%, that's a good 10%. It might look small, but so if you kind of know, naman, you have an idea of where you want to be. Hopefully, this can help guide you.
Thank you. So yun
Thank
lang yung mga questions mo. Yun lang yung mga questions natin. And I really, big thank you, Sir Chase, for sharing your valuable insights. Dami ko din pong natutunan. But before we sign off, maybe you can mention lang po, I think there's an upcoming face-to-face masterclass of the Trade Asia.
Yes, we're gonna have a seminar, a masterclass seminar, this upcoming March 23. That's Saturday, and we what we'll have is it'll go from 1 o'clock all the way to 5 o'clock. It's a long seminar. However, what it will cover is, first, we'll try to identify the strategy that's for you. So we've identified certain simple strategies that professionals use, but gets overlooked. Like even simple things like compounding, where you just let your profits compound, and it's Warren Buffett's favorite way. He started investing young. He slowly, continuously invested, and then he never turned billionaire until his age 65. But from 65, because he continuously compounded pa rin, he's making almost 2 billion na every year, like just from his dividends, just from so things like that. We feel that it's generational type of wealth that can be applied by everybody. Meron din naman mga iba, of course, na mas wants to be a bit more active. So first part of that seminar is we'll try to determine kung anong strategy sana yung for you. Of course, you will determine it yourself. We'll just provide you the different simple strategies that we think are that can be applied here in the Philippines. And then from there, we'll look into fundamentals, and really how we choose these companies, how you would yourself would start choosing these companies. And then next, we would show charts. Because like I mentioned before, hindi naman porket you say, oh, si PLDT dapat 5,000 pesos, bakit 2,000 pesos lang ngayon? Because at the end of the day, it's investors, people. So it's demand and supply. So then sometimes charts would help, because it will determine the demand and supply. Parang paminsan pag may malaking nagbebenta pa din, and so you'll be able to pick up on that. So hopefully we can teach all of those things. We Those are the top three things that we plan to impart. Plus, of course, after that, we'll have a live Q&A. You can ask us anything. I will be there. My mentor, head of our research, it will be there. Our traders will be there. And so they all have different roles, and they all can answer, differently, pick their brains. And then we'll be leaving a nice feeling namin timeless na booklet that everybody can bring home, where it will have most of those strategies, just in case you forget or you want to share it to some loved ones.
Oh, yun. Guys, take advantage na yun. I'm sure you're gonna learn a lot then. I think I had the link here yata. Kinuha ko sa
Mm.
no, page. No?
Yes, it's
Ayan.
so for so of course we're gonna be bringing in experts. We're gonna bringing in everybody. So, and plus of course the space. So meron siyang there is a charge, but we think it's very very affordable and worth it. So yun. It's really just to cover some of the things that we want to do because we want it to be, no, we want it to be sustainable. We want to try continuously offer it to everybody who's interested.
Yun. And guys, nagfo-follow ng One For The Money. So, nag-participate dito. I will just email kung sino yung two winners ng dalawang seats for this masterclass. Yan, ng To Trade Asia. Any final thoughts po, Sir Chase, before we wrap up the session?
I just want to thank you, Christina, for and your viewers for taking the time and really educating the everybody, the Filipinos, kasi ako mismo, I never learned any of it in school. If it wasn't imparted to me at a young age, I don't think I would be able to learn to try to. I have work. I have a salary. I have an income stream. But then, keeping it safe, letting it grow, investing it so that we can fight inflation, yung mga a lot of these things hindi masyado na-impart eh. So I very much thank you, Christina, and everything that you're doing. I think it's helping so many people. So yes, keep it up, please. I think that's my final message. Thank you very much. Oh, and please join the try to win the raffle for the master class. You will not regret it. You'll have our whole team at your disposal during that day.
Yeah. Thank you po again, Sir Chase, and to Trade Asia. And guys, thank you so much for watching. This is again Cristina saying na si Juan ay hindi tamad, madiskarte siya. See you all again on the next video. Bye po!
Thank you, Christina. Bye.